G'day punters, here we are for this week's version of the Punting Melbourne style, and I'm joined by Trevor Lawson. How are you, Trev?
Not so mate, thanks for having me.
That's it, mate. Now, so people that don't know Trev, he's a stable mate of Nathan Snow's through Champion Bets.
Champion Bets, yep.
Champion Bets. So Trev does ratings for all the metro races and has just a selection service called Trev's Picks, I think it is, isn't it?
Trev's Bets, yeah.
Trev's
It's a
Bets.
bit like yourself. There's two. There's a rating service and Trev's single bets sort of thing for Wednesdays and Saturdays. And for those that subscribe to it, this is what I look like.
There you go. So Trevor and I talk regularly. We help each other out in the war against the big teams and the large corporates, and
We're the single entities.
yeah, that's it. We're the battlers out there doing our best for the punters. So thought we'd spend most of today's show, Trev, just reviewing Caulfield, having a good chat about that, and just see what else comes up. So first of all, the track there on Saturday was incredibly dry for a July track. What were your thoughts, both sort of pre and post race?
Yeah, I thought it just had a little bit of give, but for winter it was firm. And talking to yourself on Friday afternoon, they were air raiding it, because it was quite firm. So it's just anomaly this time of year, and it just doesn't rain here.
Yeah, it hasn't rained.
And they drain so well. The track, that's the one. Well, not the issue, but the tracks drain so well that and I suppose they just don't think they're going to have to water this time of year.
Yeah, no, well, that was clearly the case. Jason had left the track as it was, just expecting the forecast rain that didn't arrive. When I got out there on Thursday, I just thought, wow, I can't really remember walking Caulfield and it being this dry. Because over summer, as soon as there's no sign of rain, they just run the irrigator around it. And it was
and
just
the grass cover's like perfect. There's no blemishes. In the past, a couple of times they've had little diseases and things like that, and they have had nothing. And was in pristine nick, and the rail's out 10, and they're big turning circles, so it's promotes up on the space and hard to make ground.
That's right. Yep. So when I got there on Friday, I just thought, wow, because the aerator was running around. I thought, geez, you just wouldn't believe this would be required this time of year. Now, there is because it's towed by a tractor. It's it's probably hard for them to get in as close to the rail as they'd like. And then as it goes out and they do another lap, they come round. If they don't get it 100% exact, it can sort of cross over a little bit. So I just thought those factors and the rail being out 10 and the track racing quick, I suppose, would lead to there being some sort of on-pace bias. And I think that's how it played in the end. But anyway.
I think that is when the rail's 10, from the circle races, when they hit the 900 to 1,000 metres, they're only running a straight line for 350 metres to the 600, and they turn from the 600 to the 300, and then you're 300 metres in the straight. So, the straight lines aren't that long. It's not like Flemington or, it's a bit like Moonee Valley as well, I suppose. But it's not like Sandown where you've got sort of two straights and a bend.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for some reason, they don't like to go forward on the bends. They like to sit and wait.
Yes, we can talk about that with revolving door. So my subscribers will have noted, and long-term ones, that when we get to Caulfield, I always virtually talk about the races from the shoot start and the circle races in a completely different context, because the nature of the races is completely different. And I think it's a lot to do with that top turn, as Trevor says. They go, first of all, it's uphill. It's a fairly sharp turn, and then once they get around it, they've only got, as you said, 300 or 400 metres before they start turning again. And that concept in the circle races tends to stretch the field out more than it does in the races from the shoot start, where they run in a direct straight line to the home turn. So, it is worth getting your head around the differences between the shoot start races and the circle races at Caulfield. So, anyway, onto the meeting. So, we'll do that. We'll do it in that way, Trev. We'll talk about the 4 shoot races. So, that's the 11 and 1200 metre races. So, I mean, we start with Saputo. What are your comments on that race?
I actually back Law of the Sky. I'm the one person out there that back Law of the Sky. But I had some figures for Saputo. I didn't know how to attack the race and thing. It was 1100 metre race, weight for age. I liked to back the leader. I knew Law of the Sky lead. I didn't know how fit he'd be, but I sort of rated everything up. And it's all about value, and then rather than taking $1.80 or $1.70, I was happy to have something on at $5.50 a litre, which he compounded. He probably is gone, but yeah, that's what I sort of did. And Saputo, he probably ran up to. It was just too good for him, and the rest are all sort of whackers. I thought that Brendan McCarthy's horse ran out of skin. He made good ground at the end, and it sort of
Mert the Flirt.
Mert the Flirt. Yeah, I didn't sort of think it was probably as good a horse as I thought.
So can I just say, we had an email a while back, and he sent it to me again. I think it's Betty the Jet. He described himself as good man, and he was just talking about a discussion that I had previously on one of the shows with probably DK or Ralphie, just about the chess game that racing is and the moves that are made at the various times during betting, and how it really is a game of chess and what you've got to think through. And if more of that's promoted, will attract more people to the sport. But unfortunately, I wanted to sort of go through this race with that in mind and sort of talk about some of the moves the big teams made and all that sort of stuff. But there wasn't many on Saturday. They were very quiet on Saturday, weren't they? I mean, they ploughed in the schism. They probably chimed into Saputo there at some stage, but apart from that, it was a pretty quiet day.
I think they sort of wait and see what's going on, see obviously how they parade. I know one of the big teams has a man on track looking at horses. So they sort of see how they parade and then see which way the market's going, and then they just, it's like a wave. They just go with the market and they just keep going, and then you look at them and go, geez, it's short.
Well, on the days where they find lots of bets where they want to really play win the races, they'll also throw out a lot of confetti in the morning to move the market in the direction that they really wanted in, and they're doing a lot of manipulation. Yeah. There wasn't as much of that manipulation there on Saturday, really. They just little bits and pieces, but that was about it. Yeah, the Saputo race, what you see is what you get from it. It was a hard race to assess. There was a danger he could have got caught in an awkward spot. Luke Nolan handled it well. Lord of the Sky's a difficult horse. I stayed out of it.
Right. He started when I was sort of watching him parade. Normally have
he paraded awful again.
Fellow looking at horses for me. He wasn't there, but he was sort of wanted to charge parading and wasn't he? Just sort of.
He's a horse that, to me, you can never back him unless you see him parade, and he needs to parade better than that. Anyway, enough said. They've sort of run pretty fair figures of what you'd expect for the best class horses on the day, I suppose.
Yeah, I sort of got him. He can probably improve off that to what he did. He was soft late, so he'll go on. And
the others just keep whacking around. So then we had 3 1,200 metre races that all look fairly close together in time. So
they all ran similar times. They're just slightly different tempos.
Can I just say, Trev, before we go on, I had a pretty scratchy week last week. I was scratching around for bets, and it turned out it would have been better off staying out all the rest of the betting. But over the course of the week, I ran into that many significant form reversals. I left me scratching my head. But one of those was Forger S. So at the previous run, she was beaten 6.4 lengths by Sullivan Bay. Started 25-1. Somehow she starts $9.50 there on Saturday.
Yeah, I think I had it all with after the scratching. I think I had it $11 or something like that. But I think I could forgive her first up run, and I was just hard on the girl. That was sort of so, and she sort of sat outside the leader, and this time she punched it. She got plenty out of it. It was a race. I sort of backed it.
You'd have to say, if you didn't know, it was a really good ride. If you just, it was just a really good ride.
Yeah. But I mean, that's what you get with the apprentices. So we'll probably talk about one later on. A lot of them, they're just hit and miss, and these races, they're just it's one occurrence. So you won that one occurrence.
Well, Fordress was surprisingly strong in the market. The tactics were extremely positive. She hasn't done that in a very long time. She's got no record of running that well on firm tracks. All of her better forms on sort of run-affected ground. It's just one that leaves me a bit cold, to be honest. But and running second to it, given that I also ran second to a Kieran Secret, another Bender, Greddington, Miss Magna across the week. There's more. I've left a few out.
On your seconds.
Anyway. The 2-year-old, I did it again. That was interesting because Baymertz was there on the favourite. He was obviously wanting to cross to the fence. Looked like Nikita was willing to hand up, but the horse wasn't. That was my reading of it. I did it again, sort of said, no, I like it. I want to keep this horse off the fence. And he seems to have run okay, you know, reasonably.
They ran quick. They ran quick overall, and they went very quick early. And the last 200's not too bad. So yeah, it looks a promising horse.
And the other 1200 race was Moonlight's Choice, who just sort of was beautifully set up there. It was a box ticker, and it got the job done. But the Tassie horse certainly brought his Tassie form to Melbourne this time, where in previous campaigns been a bit dubious. What's it called again?
Hot dip.
Hot dipped, yeah, ran well. So they sort of put a bit of a space on the rest. So
anyone that uses the Traxxas information, just be careful there. The last 200 for Moonlight's Choice is way out.
Yeah, I don't know, how widely distributed is that Traxxas information?
Well,
Racing.com are using it, aren't they?
Enough that you've got to do it yourself.
Yeah, Racing.com.
Or pay for a service.
Yeah,
they're all over the place. But it's I think the figure that's there, they ran at least 4 lengths quicker.
So that's how we're going. Then we're going right. So we'll keep going. Then we moved on to the races around the circle. There was 3 1400 metre races, Trev, and looks like Schism has.
Schism, they walked. Race 6, they went 6 lengths quicker, and the first race they went in between.
Okay, and so Schism's gone the slowest early section, you're saying, but has run the quickest overall time and has run by far the quickest last 600.
Yeah, so he went 6 lengths slower than the 3-year-olds early, but ran his last 600 6 lengths quicker.
Yeah, so Schism's a mare. She's been beating the mares, come to open class, got control of the race for Beau, and the big teams were right onto it. I couldn't possibly mark her that short, but I suppose they'd given her some sort of bonus for the short SPs, and they were right. In the end, he got the A1 position and was just.
We finished up lead. Cup kicked up, and Aeroline missed a kick. I sort of had it racing on the pace. Aeroline missed a kick and hit it. Onerous half kicked up as well, and then Vital Importance kicked up, so here to there, never had a chance to get across, and Beau sort of just found the front and dictated the race.
Yeah, well, I was on the horse outside Beau, tried and tied.
Tried and tied, so was I.
I was really confident he'd run a place, and even though it's run fourth, which was just a sign of the day for me, really, because I had a pretty strong place bet. It just sort of says to me that horse has no longer got the punch to really compete at Saturday grade. And I would think the stewards would have to ask questions. If that horse appears in a Saturday race anytime soon, and there's significant support for it, you'd have to ask why. I mean, it had every chance here on Saturday. And very disappointing.
His knees might have been sore or
could have felt
something
like
that. So, but the market didn't want to be on it, so that's the
That's right, Trev.
Maybe to push it out. So.
Yeah. Well, look, we're sort of getting close to the punters that wonder why I cut these things off at 15 minutes. It loads up to YouTube a lot quicker if we do that. So, in an attempt to get the show to you guys in a timely fashion, we'll keep these parts under 15 minutes. So we'll end it there, and we'll come back with part 2 and discuss the other 3 races.